This will be the last part of this series, tracking the circle alignment that starts and ends on Amsterdam Island in the South Indian Ocean. So far on this alignment, we have journeyed through Mauritius and the Seychelles, Somalia, the Gulf of Aden, Yemen, the United Arab Emirates, the Strait of Hormuz, Iran, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, China, Mongolia, back through China again, North Korea, Japan, the Bonin Islands, the Northern Marianas Islands, the island of Pohnpei in the Caroline Islands, and the Solomon Islands. My name is Michelle Gibson. Brisbane is the capital of Queensland in Australia and its largest city. The metropolitan area of Brisbane is in the Brisbane River Valley and goes from Moreton Bay on the coast to the Great Dividing Range, called the third largest mountain range in the world. I will be coming back to take a closer look at the Great Dividing Range because it is on this alignment as well. Brisbane is situated on the Brisbane River on the top, compared with a historic photo of the Red River on the bottom in the city of Winnipeg in the Canadian province of Manitoba, on a different alignment. I am seeing and saying that snaky S-shaped rivers are a signature feature of the ancient advanced civilization. Here's another one of Brisbane on a bend of the Brisbane River on the left, compared with this river bend of the Yangtze River in China on the right. Here are some historic photos of Brisbane's central business district taken in 1925 and 1926. Brisbane is said to be one of the oldest cities in Australia and founded on ancient Indigenous lands in 1825. Brisbane's central business district is said to have been built on the location of a historic European settlement located inside a peninsula of the Brisbane River, 9 miles from the mouth of Moreton Bay. The Great Fire of Brisbane took place in 1864, 39 years after what we are told was the year of the founding of the city. It burned out of control in the city's central business district for several hours, destroying blocks of businesses and homes. The Great Flood of Brisbane took place in 1893, 68 years after the city was established. As a result of 8 days and 20 inches of rain, the Brisbane River rose almost 24 feet. In addition to floodwaters sweeping away 2 bridges, the city itself was severely flooded. Most importantly to note, the grand architecture with heavy masonry, cupolas, huge arches, and huge columns in these historic flood photos are said to have been built in less than 70 years, according to the historical narrative we've been given. While not really known to the general public, there are 10 registered pyramids in the Australian state of Queensland, of which Brisbane is capital. I would like to point out 2 of the best known ones. The first is the Gympie Pyramid in Gympie, Australia, which is just a short distance north of Brisbane. The Gympie Pyramid is described as a terraced sandstone hill. It is on private land and not open to the general public. The other one is called the Ballindine Pyramid, on private property but viewable from the road in the village of Ballindine in Queensland. This one is openly acknowledged to be man-made. However, it is said to have been in modern times when the landowner paid someone to do something with the surplus granite rocks that had been excavated for the land's agricultural use. Then we are told not to confuse the Ballindine Pyramid with what are called natural granite rock formations called the Pyramids in nearby Girraween National Park, in which there are examples of balanced rocks like these in Girraween on the left, and likenesses of which are found all over the world in places like Elephant Rock State Park in southeast Missouri in the middle, and on the right at Matopos Hills National Park in the African country of Zimbabwe. Brisbane is the gateway to Australia's Gold Coast. It is a popular vacation resort and has a lot of theme parks. It also has approximately 400 kilometers or 249 miles of canals, shown in the top photo, about which I did not know until I looked just now, compared with an aerial photo of Los Olas Isles in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on the bottom. Now, by not being given any other explanation, we just assume all of these canals were built relatively recently. What I am finding as I follow the planetary alignments are canal systems of similar sophisticated engineering all over the world in places that I would not expect to find them. For example, in places like Tepe, Tajikistan, which is close to Tajikistan's border with Afghanistan. So continuing on the alignment, back to the Great Dividing Range, also known as the Great Divide or the Eastern Highlands, pretty much parallels the east coast of Australia for about 2,300 miles or 3,700 kilometers. It is described as a series of plateaus and low mountain ranges. This feature of the Blue Mountains in the Great Dividing Range, called the Three Sisters on the top, immediately brought to mind this feature on the bottom, which is found at Agatu Island at the far western end of the Aleutian Island chain. The Wentworth Falls in the top photo are in the Blue Mountains of the Great Dividing Range as well, and brought to mind Slop Sopat, a waterfall in Istria, which is the largest peninsula in the Adriatic Sea and shared by Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia. Next on the alignment we come to Dubbo, the largest city in the Orana region in the Australian state of New South Wales. It is located on the Macquarie River and is the crossroads where three highways intersect. This is the old Dubbo post office on the top, said to have been built in 1887, compared with the Moorish clock tower, or Torre Morisca, in Guayaquil, Ecuador, on the bottom. This is the courthouse in Dubbo, said to have been commissioned in 1884 and completed in 1887. It looks like courthouses and government buildings from all over the world, said to have been built in this time period. And this is the band rotunda in Dubbo, compared with what is called the Moorish kiosk in Hermosillo, Mexico, which is on a different alignment. Next, the alignment crosses over the Murray River, Australia's longest river, and forms the border between the Australian states of New South Wales and Victoria. It is another example of the many S-shaped rivers that I have found all over the world. Here is one of the landforms on the river's edge, on the left, compared for similar attributes with Merrick Butte on the right, in northern Arizona's Monument Valley near the Utah state line. So the alignment crosses the Murray River and passes through Geelong in the state of Victoria, a port city on the Corio Bay, which is a bay off of the larger Port Phillip Bay. This historic building was called the Geelong Exhibit Building and Market Square Clock Tower. The clock tower was demolished in 1923, and the remaining buildings were demolished in the early 1980s to make room for a new shopping center. Here is a historic photo of the old Geelong post office, said to have been built between 1890 and 1891, which has actually survived to the present day. The building is intact, but I wonder what those interesting looking towers were for in the front of the older picture of the building that are no longer there. Next on the alignment we come to Portland, the oldest European settlement in New South Wales, and is the main city in the Shire of Glenelg on Portland Bay. It is the only deep sea port between Adelaide and Melbourne. There is a belt of active volcanoes in Victoria State that runs between Portland and Geelong, with one close to Portland itself. I have found a high correlation between these planetary alignments and the occurrence of volcanoes. Here's a picture of a historic hotel in Portland, in Victoria State on the left, compared with what is called a colorful colonial building on Long Street in Cape Town, South Africa, in the middle, and with this building on the right in the historic French Quarter of the city of New Orleans in Louisiana. So from Portland, we enter the South Indian Ocean, and traveling 8,044 miles or 12,946 kilometers over open ocean, we return to the place where this circle alignment started, Amsterdam Island. A tiny speck of land in the South Indian Ocean, where the French government of Amsterdam Island mans only a seasonal research station. that studies the geomagnetism of the Earth, as well as biology and weather. This is a photograph taken at Amsterdam Island of a phenomenon called lee waves, which are atmospheric stationary waves. The next series will be about a circle alignment that starts and ends in Algiers, Algeria.